Hey guys, as usual, we have the Semogue Owners Club with a Taj handle, timeless open comb, stainless steel razor, 68 gap, and the Midnight Stag scent from Chiseled Face, and the cologne and splash also are of the same scent. We have the Nacet blade, and it is on around use number 597. I think that's the one for today. Getting close. Getting close to the end. Close to the, well, not the end, but the big number. How about that? I've got had the brush soaking for just a few minutes, not as long as usual, but that should be enough. By the time we talk a little bit about what we're going to do today, that should be fine. Get my face wet. So today is going to be a retry of yesterday. I let my brush, I put some water in my bowl so that during the second and third passes, when I anticipated needing to add water to my lather, I could just dip the tips in the bowl. But then after the first pass, I let my brush rest in the bowl. And so the tips soaked up too much water, and that flushed out my lather for the second and third passes. So we're going to see if we can fix that today. And when you're working on tweaking certain things about your shave, a lot of times it's best to remove as many variables as you can. And so I recommend doing that. Use the same gear over and over while if you're working on your technique, if you're a new shaver, working on your pressure, all that stuff. Pick a soap that you like, pick a blade that seems to do pretty well for you, and a similar brush so that you eliminate all those other issues. And so your lather's more on point so that you can focus on your razor technique. So I definitely recommend doing that when you can. Show you the blade right quick. Gillette Nacet, and there's the etchings and Sharpie dots. Do we still see the Sharpie dots? Oh man, I think the Sharpie dots are gone. Wait a minute, did that guy flip over? I don't see my N1 on there. Have I been using the blade? Oh, I have been using the blade on the wrong side. I don't know how many times now. Oh well. So, so I used it for almost 600 uses on just one side without flipping over the blade. Darn it, I wish I hadn't have done that. See, now that I've flipped it over, let me show you. And see, none of you guys noticed. That's okay. I mean, there's a little N up here and a 1 down here. Nobody ever brought it to my attention. I'm going to have to go back and look and see if I can find which shaves. Is the Sharpie dot still there? Yeah. Right above the 2 S's in stainless right there. There's a little tiny bit of a Sharpie dot. That's how I made note of the blade, that it was my marathon blade, and how I kind of proved to you guys that it was the same blade. But then they started to wear away. So that is very interesting. Have I gotten better shaves recently? Maybe I have. And I just thought it was that. I'm going to have to go back and watch my videos and see when I actually flipped it and didn't notice it. I mean, that's one of the things about, I leave it in the razor and I only take it out to show you guys, and then I put it right back on. And then I vent the razor, give it a good rinse, and let it sit. And so, when was the last time I took the blade out because that's when I must have flipped it. Oh, it's a mystery. So in that sense, I kind of feel bad because I wanted to send a blade to Greg that had only one side used on it. And so now, but I mean, what's maybe 10 uses, which might be about the amount of time it's been used on the other side. What's 10 uses compared to 590? You know, so, oh well, hopefully it won't have messed up anything sciencey. Face got wet. Last time we had to go back to the tub and load for a little bit. 8 seconds was not enough. Let's just do 10 seconds. And when I was doing the slurry lather method, 10 seconds was plenty. Do a couple little shakes. Don't want it quite so full of water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now, what shall I dip my brush into? Okay, I put some water in a separate bowl, so I think we're good there. Let's see, let me put myself a little bit more center of frame there. All right. So, we're doing, like we did yesterday, the slurry lather method, but we are lengthening the time of that first pass to get the lather to be a little bit more mature. Sometimes I feel like if I focus on one side first before I move on to the other, then the lather is better, but usually I don't do it for too long. Now, let's go back and dab just a little bit and see, do we have more soap? Because this is coming together a little slowly, so maybe what happens is I have more soap, but it's not being accessed anymore because I need more water. Yep, see, you see it building now? Oh yeah. See, it just needed a little more water. The water in the bowl I'm holding here is the slurry. It was inside the brush when I first started. Yeah, look at that. See, the brush had plenty of lather, so I think that's actually what happened yesterday. After that 8-second load, I probably didn't need to go back and get more soap. I just needed to, I think it just got flushed away a little bit. Okay, so now, yeah, see, so we've kind of got something mature, fairly mature on my brush there. Obviously, throughout the whole brush, it's not homogeneously mixed, but at least what's on my face, I feel real good about. Be interesting to see if it feels different now than the razor, if it feels different now than it has the last several days. To see in recent memory, I can't recall when I would have taken that blade out. Oh well, life has all kinds of curveballs sometimes, and this is not really a big problem, is it, when we think about all the problems in the world? If you get that extra around, you can, if you have some problem areas, just kind of use it. Lay it back down on your face and make use of it. Now a splash of water. All right. So yes, this one's proceeding a little bit more like what I wanted when I wanted to get a more mature lather on that first pass. And obviously it's a little bit slower method than the normal slurry that I do, because normally, yeah, this could even use a little bit more water. Some people might think that's perfect, and that's fine. It's really nice. You know, you do whatever you feel like. Greg had a great point with his straight razor shaving and not wanting to have it be too drippy. That way he keeps his razor clean. See, look, that was 10 swirls. Look how much soap I have. And this has got to be maybe the third. Is this the third pass or the second? I don't know. Plenty of soap, as you can see. I mean, when it builds up around my goatee like this. Maybe I should save that for what I did just now, you know, after the pass. I think this is maybe the second pass. You know, this really doesn't feel too different than the flipped blade. One of my arguments, one of the things that I'm guessing is true, is that flipping the blade really doesn't matter. Some guys who flip it religiously, and I mean, if that makes you happy, then great. But we don't need to tell people that it has to be done, or we don't need to represent it as a truth if it's not, right? Nice. And there I've still got the suds I can use for trouble spots. Now some water. Nice shave today. And yeah, so I have, as I take another dip of water there, I have plenty of lather here. And I guarantee I can squeeze a nice bit of lather out of the brush. Probably didn't need to do that last dip. But it's very slick, feels good on my skin. I like this method because as I've been dipping my brush in a little bit of water, you can watch the lather transform. And so you can see it build up around my goatee. I can feel the texture of it with the brush. You know, it's got a different sound to it when it's more thick. And then as I add water gradually, you can see the lather change and thin out a little bit and turn into this kind of thing that's highly hydrated. I think this is just a great way to use this particular lather. I think when I do a normal bowl lather, it just doesn't feel nearly as good as this. And so maybe I need to approach all those coconut oil type tallow soaps that way. And it might Might be a benefit, help me to enjoy those bases more. And there we go. It got messy toward the end. Like I said, I probably didn't need to do that last dip into the water, but it definitely didn't. All it did was reduce the luxury a little bit and increase the mess, but the slickness was still terrific. So this was my little water dippy bowl, and that was handy. And it might be a good idea to only fill it with 1/4 inch of water, and that way you'll never, or less, you'll never oversaturate your brush with water. You know, if you do tap it down in there, you're only getting a little bit at a time. And see, take a look here. This brush still has, after 3 passes, still got plenty of lather for another pass. Maybe even 2 passes if I squeezed it, if I was really conservative with it. So that worked very well. And there was some extra that I wiped from my goatee that I put in the bowl. I could have used that if I needed. So, as this was a much better result, in terms of figuring out, hey, if we wanted to lengthen the time of the shave a little bit, it's not quite as fast as it is the slurry lather, but that's okay because we're taking our time, we're doing it on purpose, we are enjoying the lather, we're enjoying more of the scent, we're feeling more the brush that we're using, and so those are all good things. Like, Greg modified this method to accomplish his needs, and one of his priorities was that, to experience the brush more and that kind of thing. So now I'm going to clean up. And here is the brush after a good rinsing and then blow drying gently. Looking good. Really enjoying it lately. And I'll cap up the soap. And let's put on the splash. So I could have included more water in the brush. I could have left more in there, as in shaken less out, as we apply the cologne here for Midnight Stag. But honestly, I kind of believe that if I would have done that, it would have dumped out more water on my shirt. And so I think if you do, and I think this is kind of what Greg does. He likes to dip the tips in the water instead of doing some kind of sprinkle thing and holding the brush like this and then sprinkling some water. You know, some shavers do that, and that's a good way to add a few drops. But if you add more than a few drops, I found historically that it kind of goes through the knot and comes out the bottom, and that's not good. But a little tap on the tips there and into a little bit of water, because the amount of water that you have at the beginning is not quite enough to carry you through all the way to the end of the shave. And that's okay. With the normal slurry lather, where it's the fast method, and who knows, I might actually change the slurry method to where what I just did today is the typical method, because it still was reasonably fast. But where you build the lather and it comes together before you leave your first pass, instead of having it come together on the 3rd pass, which is the fast method. So you can pick whichever one you have time for, or whichever one you have a preference toward. But if you do the slower method, then in that second and third pass, you'll probably have to go back and dip your tips, or add a little bit more moisture. I know that I had somebody years ago told me that they had a little a mister around. Let's pretend this is a mister. And so on that second pass, instead of dipping your brush tips in water, he would, he'd add hydration to his lather that way. And that's valid, of course, too. So however you want to add it. But it looks like that's going to be part of it. I don't think most brushes are going to let you hold enough water in that first pass to last the rest of the shave. But as you can see, I still think this is superior to the typical face lathering method, because a lot of times they're running out of lather in their brush on the third pass. And as you can see, I had enough for a fourth pass or a fifth pass. So I think this excels in certain areas that I enjoy. So it's definitely a better face lathering method for me. So very cool. All right. I think the idea for this shave kind of came from Greg as he and I were talking. And so thanks, Greg, for that. I think I found a really good alternative to a variation of the slurry lather method. All right, now, take care, guys. Good night.